Hello, everyone. We're going to give just a minute or two for everybody to get logged in and connected. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for joining the Link Center for this shared learning group focused on the topic of how relationships influence development and sense of self. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items while we get started. The session is being recorded, and the recording and the transcript will be made available on our website. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with others. Attendees cannot see the names of other attendees, and all attendees are muted. Please use the chat function in Zoom to communicate with other people and host during the webinar. You can use the chat by clicking on Chat at the bottom of your screen. And be aware that your name will appear in the chat if you make a comment. And if you'd like, you can change the way your name shows by clicking those three little dots next to your name and selecting Rename. We will have representatives from the Link Center watching the chat and responding throughout the session today. If you'd like to submit a question or comment privately to the host and panelists, you can do that with the chat or by clicking on the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We have live captioning and ASL interpreters present today. We will be spotlighting the active speaker and the ASL interpreter throughout the webinar. If you click on View on your Zoom screen, you can change the way you see the panelists. And if you're having any trouble with your view, please let us know in the chat and we will try to help you. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Stacy Nonamaker, who will get us started. Stacy, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, and hello, everyone. As Stephanie said, my name is Stacy Nonamaker, and by way of a visual description, today I am wearing a red shirt. I'm in front of a white background. I have a shoulder-length, dirty blonde, wavy hair. I'm a middle-aged white woman, and I am wearing brown glasses today. So it's so great to have you with us all. I'm so glad that you could find the time. We are from the Link Center, and the Link Center's mission is to improve access to mental health services for people with disabilities. Today, we really wanted to talk about relationships. Specifically, we wanted to talk about how relationships impact or influence development and sense of self. So we'll talk a little bit about how relationships are so important when you're kids, and how the relationships that you have when you're children or kids affect you as you get older. So hopefully most of you have joined us before and have been part of our shared learning groups. If you haven't before, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And really, we're glad to have all of you, whether you've been here before or not. If you've been here before, you may have heard about our website. For those of you that are new, please check us out. Our website, the Link Center website, can be accessed, or you can get to there through that QR code on your screen. Or Stephanie put the link that you see on your screen in the chat to make it a little easier for you to click on it, open it on your computer, and take a look at the website after today's shared learning group. We keep telling everyone to check out the website and check it out often, because we are always putting more and more information and resources up on the website so that we can all get better at supporting people with co-occurring conditions. So now you know a little bit about the Link Center and who I am. And I see that you are already starting to introduce yourself in the chat. So that's so great. So please say hi in the chat. Maybe your name, who you're from. It's always fun to see where people are joining us from. I already see somebody's dialing in from Hawaii, so welcome. I am joining us from Pennsylvania today. And you can also include any groups that you're a part of in your introduction, any other associations that you're a part of. But just say hello because, again, we love to know who's here, who's with us, who we're talking to. Let me tell you a little bit about these shared learning groups. We have been doing these groups every quarter for 2 years. We're on our third year now, and we do 4 meetings per quarter. The first meeting we do with direct support professionals. The second one we do with clinical professionals. So think behavior specialists and therapists. And then earlier today, we did one with families. And now we're meeting with you all, people with lived experience. The topic that we talk about and a lot of the information that we talk about in these presentations are pretty much the same. We do change or tweak a little bit of how we talk about the topic or what we ask the audience based upon who the audience is. Excuse me. What we put together for you all today is really a group effort among the Link Center partners. There are many of us. Some of the partners you will meet today. Some are people with lived experience. Some are researchers. Some are people who work on policy issues. As Stephanie said, we are going to record this meeting and we're going to transcribe it. And that means we're going to write down all the words that people say in the meeting. And we'll have materials available after the meeting. And we encourage you to share the materials or any information that we share with you today. We at the Link Center are really trying to build a community around everyone who is interested in, who lives in, who supports somebody who has co-occurring conditions. So anything that we share today, anything that we share after today, please share with other people that you think would be interested. So what are we going to do today? Well, first, some folks from the Link Center are going to share what we know, what we're thinking about when it comes to relationships, and specifically how relationships influence or impact our development as we grow older and our sense of self, who we are. So we'll focus on talking about how relationships really impact our lives. We'll probably share some resources around the topic of relationships. Some people will share some stories about their relationships, ones that were positive and maybe some that were not so positive. And we really, really encourage you and invite you to share. You did the first part, which is you showed up, right? You found the time. And the second part is we invite you to share. And one of the ways that we're going to do this is we'll have a group exercise towards the end of our time together. And we'll just talk about what you would do. if you were the person in the group exercise. I don't want you to wait until the group exercise to share. If you have some things to share, please, you can raise your hand. You can put it in the chat, and we can work on getting you off mute or even on camera if you prefer. So as the Link Center, you may have seen in the chat, people were introducing themselves as members of the steering committee. We are so lucky here at the Link Center to have a steering committee. The steering committee is made up of 14 people across the United States who have different lived experiences. And the steering committee shares their stories, shares their experiences, and helps really drive and guide the work that we do here at the Link Center. They help us pick the topics for these shared learning groups. Some of the steering committee members help develop the content for these shared learning groups. So they're very involved and again, just guiding everything that we at the Link Center do. One of the things that the steering committee has done is help us develop some agreements or rules, if you will, for these meetings. So we're all on the same page so that we all feel like we're in a space where we can be open and honest. And so I'm going to share those agreements or rules with you now. The first one is take care of yourself. Do what is necessary for your comfort and care. And we encourage you to be gentle with yourself and each other because sometimes this is hard work to do. So I am reminding you to step away, take care of yourself. We are so, so glad that you are here, but we understand that you may need to take time away from talking about whatever it is we're talking about in the moment. The second agreement or rule is we celebrate that we are all individuals from different backgrounds. We celebrate that we have shared experiences to learn from. We know that we are each unique with our own experiences in the world. And again, we are glad that you are all here. And finally, we really want to create a space where we listen and share with open minds and kindness. And we do not judge or blame others for what they share. So hopefully that was the foundation that we can share and the space that we can create as we talk about today's topic. And so to really get us thinking about today's topic, we want to start by hearing from you all. So again, you can type in the chat, you can raise your hand, and we can help you come off mute, even if you wanted to turn on your video. But our question to you all is, think about relationships that you have. And now I want you to think about what things are important to you in a relationship. So you probably have lots of different relationships, but what could you say? A word or two, maybe 3 or 4, but just a few words that describe what things are important to you in a relationship. It is for dating. Trust, trust and understanding, kind. These are all great. Keep them coming. Respect for my boundaries, which will build trust. Moral, trust, and kind, also honest about their feelings, ones that don't abandon me. It can be hard to know who to trust. no lying, asking for help for dating, honesty, authenticity, support, loving. Feel like I can be myself. What about dependability? These are all so great. Thank you to all of you that have put some of your ideas or thoughts into the chat. And it's really a great way to get us starting to think about relationships, to think about what's important in relationships to you, to think about how relationships impact our lives, perhaps even over time, if you think back to when you were a child and what those relationships were like and how they shaped who you are today. One more just came in that I'm going to read out loud. Two more. No name calling or age difference. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Thank you again. So now I get to turn it over to our wonderful steering committee member, Victoria. And Victoria is going to talk a little bit more about why we think at the Link Center and our steering committee thinks it's important to talk about relationships. So Victoria, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, I'm Victoria Villalobos Gallardo. I am a steering committee member, and basically what she said, I'm here to talk about relationships. Next slide. So what do I mean by relationships? So from the moment we're born, every human will form all different types of relationships throughout their life. These can be parental, familial, friends, romantic, and professional, like care providers. And honestly, sometimes the familial doesn't even have to be like your actual family. It can just be people who are close enough to you to consider family. Next slide. So why are relationships important? So each relationship has different levels of comfort and trust. There are things that you'd be willing to tell your friends that you may feel uncomfortable telling a parent. This could be stuff like, I don't know, romantic problem, sex life. Like nobody wants to talk about their parents. No one wants to talk about that with their parents. So that's why you have friends, because they can talk about the subjects that you wouldn't want to talk to your parents about. And likewise, there are different types of support that you can only get from a care provider, but you can't get from your friends and family. Friends and family, they want to help us. They really, really want to help us, but sometimes they just can't. Sometimes you need to have a professional in there. So it's important to have a variety of different relationships to fulfill all your different types of needs. Next slide. So, how do different types of relationships impact who you are and who we become? As humans, we are born as blank slates, and every single interaction in our lives contributes to the people we are today. Children, especially, are in a critical development period where every interaction begins to mold who they are as people. This is the Shared with Live experience group, so I know you guys have had that one moment in your childhood that just sticks with you. It sticks with you forever. It could be positive, could be negative, even something super mundane like getting a compliment. This stuff sticks with you for the rest of your life because when you're in that stage of childhood, you're just absorbing everything. So these interactions will shape your views on how different relationships work. Next. So when a kid is fed positive relationships, again, using the sponge metaphor, they're giving positive safety. It will leave them feeling safe, comfortable, and confident with who they are as people. And on the other hand, if a kid is fed negative relationships, they become scared, withdrawn, insecure. A positive relationship child will probably have better self-esteem. They know their worth as a person. But a child who's had negative relationships, they probably barely see themselves as a person. So these interactions from childhood shape who you are as adults. Like if you're a kid and you're punished for every single negative emotion you have, you don't want to share how you really feel. and it holds back a lot of information that could really be helpful to your treatment and needs. But again, because you associate it with bad things, then you just don't share. Next slide. So why is it important for people with co-occurring needs to have this? I wrote this for the groups that weren't like us, but we have a deeper effect that is much harder to alter the views once something is there. Someone can have a lifetime of positive relationships, but it only takes one negative relationship to completely taint your view on an entire relationship type. I'm gonna tell a story about myself and my mother when I was hospitalized. My mom and I, at the time, I was a teenager. I did not have a great relationship with her. I was salty and bitter. And when I was in the mental hospital, I had to be sedated because I was really worked up. Anyways, I was in my room, just kind of staring at the ceiling, and visiting hours rolled by, and the hospital let my mom see me, even though I was kind of barely there. She did come in, and even though we didn't have the greatest relationship, I did need her comfort at that moment. So I asked for it, and she just sat by me. She was playing with my hair. She told me bedtime stories until I fell asleep. And that's the safest I ever felt in that hospital. On the other hand, that's my personal relationship story. A professional one is that I could feel a breakdown coming. Like, there are signs, when you're about to have a really bad episode. But a lot of the time, the hospitals just won't listen to you. They'll believe that you're being avoidant because that's what they do for depression, but they don't know how to treat the autism, which is being overwhelmed. So I told this nurse, her name was Tanya. I told her that I was really not in a good state, that I had to be somewhere. I had to be in the quiet room somewhere that I couldn't hurt myself and where I was constantly monitored. And for once, she listened to me. That was very, very rare. It's still super rare in hospitalizations, but she did listen to me, and that meltdown did happen. I did need to be sedated, but I spared myself a lot of embarrassment by being in a space where I could, not hurt myself or other people. And this is to say that it is possible to heal a tainted view after a bad relationship. It just takes a significant amount of trust, time, and effort. My mom and I, we weren't always as good as we are now. So it took a lot of work on her end and my end in order to repair this relationship. Honestly, it's better to prevent these negative relationships from ever happening, but that's not always possible. It is possible to heal. It just takes a lot. Next slide.
Thanks so much, Victoria. We always appreciate you sharing your stories. And hopefully that set the foundation for you all again, why we think it's important to be talking about relationships. Before I turn it over to Nancy and Kelly, I just want to again encourage you all to put any thoughts that you may have hearing Victoria's story and what she presented, any of your own experiences in the chat. But at this time, I'll turn it over to Nancy Thaler to present the next part.
Hi, everyone. I want to say that all the things that people put in the chat were really great. A lot of different points of view and things that are important. So thanks for doing that. Next slide. I'm on the webinar today to tell you about a project we just did or are in the middle of doing, really, to support children and teenagers and young adults, not just older children, who have developmental disabilities and mental health problems. And mostly it is that they have behavior that that caregivers have a hard time understanding and helping. And states are looking for how to do this. These are young these are young adults who often have a lot of placements and a lot of different programs, experience restraint and seclusion and school suspensions. And their life is not really happy and they're struggling and people don't know what to do for them. So the federal government provided funds for us to figure out who are the children and what are their needs and how could state systems help those kids. And we did a lot of work over the last year asking lots and lots of people what they think and what they know. Who are the children? What problems do they present? How do you understand them? How do you help them? And so we're about to come out with a report about this. But Stacy thought it would be good for on this topic about relationships to hear what we found. And so the next slide is about what we learned from the project. And what we learned for the project is if kids and adolescents who have challenging behaviors and multiple disabilities are going to have a good life, there are 5 things that are important. And the very first one is to be with people that they like and who are important to them. And that was the part of the case study that you responded to, that children and adults need first and foremost to be with somebody that they have confidence loves them and that they have loving feelings toward, and that you feel safe with that person or those people. You can count on them. You know, they'll come through for you. They won't judge you. They will respect you. And it's a simple thing, but it is the most important thing in all of our lives, and particularly when you're struggling. The other thing we discovered is that it's important for people to do stuff every day that makes them feel good. Whether they're at home or whether at school or in the community, that doing things that are fun, that make you feel good. It could be walking in the park. It could be playing baseball with somebody. It could be having a cup of coffee with somebody, but doing things that just all around make you feel like you're glowing inside and feel good. Everybody needs to have those things to do. The third thing is that people need, and we all need, family members and people, direct care staff, etc., who understand who we are and what we need. Sometimes each of us is struggling. It's hard to know what we need, and they need help doing that. The fourth thing is it actually helps to know how the brain works, and that feelings that we have, both good feelings and bad feelings, and those feelings of worry and stress and feeling bad, this all happens in our brains. And when we start to understand how that brain works, we start to figure out how to make ourselves feel better. So sometimes we get so low and so sad, but if we get connected to those other things, like people we like to be with or things we like to do, it can bring us out of that because it changes how our brain feels. So we discovered it's useful to know about the brain. And the very last thing is to make sure that we are healthy physically, because when we are healthy physically, we're more likely to feel good about life and to feel good. But if we feel lousy, if we like horribly overweight, or if we have asthma, or pain or discomfort, I mean, we might have terrible sinus pain and headaches that make us uncomfortable, or eczema that itches like crazy. Well, it's important to get all those things taken care of so that we feel healthy and that our brains aren't busy trying to figure out what to do about this pain and this discomfort. So, being with people who we like and like us and are important to us, doing things every day at home or out in the community that we like to do, having families and helpers who understand us is important. Maybe knowing how the brain works and also being healthy and free of pain and free of discomfort are all things we need to feel good about life and to feel positive. So that is the end of my story about what our study has found. And again, it reinforces how important relationships are. So if anybody has any thoughts about that you want to put in the chat, I'd be happy to read them. And I think I'm moving on. We're moving on now to the next slide. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So yes, Victoria set the stage for us in talking about relationships and why are relationships important. So let's get into that a little bit more. Next slide. Oh, and I apologize. I will do a quick introduction. My name is Kelly Miller. I'm with the National Association of State Head Injury Administrators. I'm a middle-aged woman in brown cat-eye glasses with long blonde hair and a light brown sweater. So in talking about relationships, it's also important to talk about loneliness because without relationships, we can feel very lonesome. Loneliness is feeling alone or disconnected from other people. Even someone with a lot of friends can feel lonely. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I know I have. Loneliness can impact our health and our well-being. And sometimes there are things that just make it harder for us to connect with people that we can't control, like when we don't feel well physically, or we don't feel well mentally, or we go to a place, but it's not inclusive and it doesn't have the accommodations that we need, or maybe we don't have transportation to get somewhere. If there's a language barrier, that makes it harder for us to connect with someone, or not having a phone or the assistive technology that we might need in order to communicate. Those can all be things that make it harder for us to connect with others. Um, the interesting thing about loneliness is it can impact our health, even in the same ways as like smoking. People who smoke, we all know, experience some long-term health issues, and loneliness can sometimes look the same as if you were smoking 15 cigarettes a day. End up being at higher risk for issues with our heart and our blood pressure and stroke. So loneliness is something that we really need to, what can we do about loneliness? Let's go to the next slide and talk more about that. So one of the biggest ways to combat loneliness is to have safe, supportive, nurturing relationships. And the people who study relationship things tell us that having even just one person who identify as being safe, supportive, and nurturing can really help heal some of those feelings from past relationships that cause some hurt emotions. We know that kids do better in school if they have a good relationship with their teacher. They do better in school and feel better socially if they have good, healthy friendships. The most common thing that helps kids get through really hard times is having that at least one person who's a safe, supportive, nurturing individual. And the people who study relationships and everything have put these 4 words together of safe, supportive, nurturing relationships, or SSNR, because people who study things love to create acronyms too. But we also know that kids who have positive relationships have a better sense of self-esteem and they feel better about themselves, which then leads them to make better choices when it comes to choosing friends. Let's go to the next slide. The power of connection, which Victoria mentioned too. Friends reduce stress, make us laugh, help us feel known and understood. They motivate us to take care of ourselves and fulfill the basic need of belonging. Another, this makes me think a little bit more about loneliness is when someone's lonely, that can lead to feeling depressed. Also, feeling depressed can lead to feeling lonely. And that can lead to just not really having the energy to take good care of ourselves. and maybe not wanting to allow our caregivers to help us when we do need help. So this power of connection really speaks to how important it is to have relationships, so that we do have motivation to take care of ourselves and people who we feel comfortable reaching out to when we do need help. And those things all help us meet this need of feeling like we belong to something. Next slide. This sort of echoes what Victoria said too. There's different types of connections and different types of relationships. So having a relationship with yourself, sort of understanding your own needs and how to ask for help when you need support, and how knowing how you can best support your friends. The intimate relationship piece doesn't necessarily mean a romantic or physical relationship. This can be just like a person who's a really great confidant, or maybe you're really close with a brother or a sister or a cousin or a caregiver. The relational piece of this speaks to having friends and social connections. And the collective piece means kind of being part of something larger, like being involved in the community, or maybe a church or a faith-based group or a spiritual group. Next slide. And I think we all probably agree that different relationships are important to us at different times in our life. I know when I was a kid, my friends were very important to me, and I probably would have said they were more important to me than my parents. And when I was a teenager, I didn't want to miss out on anything. I didn't want to miss a party or a concert or a movie. I would have had that major FOMO, or fear of missing out. And now that I'm grown up, I don't really have that FOMO much anymore. What's happened, and I think happens sometimes over the course of time, is as we get older, we have fewer relationships, but they're more meaningful. And they're maybe with less people, but they're more intense and more meaningful to us. Having close friends helps us feel better about ourselves. And when we feel better about ourselves, we have better relationships. And it's not really a lack of relationships that can lead to loneliness, it's a lack of meaningful relationships. And I can think of when I was a kid, I went to the same elementary school for many years. And just at the end of my 6th grade year, my family moved. We moved across town, and I had to go to a new school for just the last 2 weeks of the school year. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the neighborhood. The school building itself was set up completely different from my other school. But there were some students who were willing to befriend me, and my teacher was very nice, and I think she had a lot of empathy for me, knowing that I had to come in and join a new group of kids in the last 2 weeks of school. But I still felt lonely, even though there were people there trying to be nice and trying to be friends and include me. I didn't have a connection with any of those people yet. And so that they just didn't meet my need, and I still felt lonely. The good news is, amazingly enough, over 40 years later, I am still friends with one of those girls who was a classmate who tried to befriend me. So it did come full circle, and we did develop a really great relationship. Next slide. The good news is the good can outweigh the bad. Victoria kind of mentioned this, like our relationship experiences stay with us, right? We become sort of all those pieces make up the puzzle of who we are today in our relationships. And people who study things like relationships have learned that we carry all that stuff with us. So for example, when someone is in a relationship and they break up, that experience can affect how we feel about ourselves for up to a year. So even a year later, we might question our self-esteem, our self-value, our self-worth. That experience of having ended a relationship still plays into how we build new relationships for up to a year. The thing is, though, if we have positive friends in our lives, it can help to outweigh the bad things we've experienced. And having positive friendships can help us deal with hurt feelings from past friendships. So I'm wondering, just thinking about this, are there ways that you can think of maybe that you can support friends when they are going through a hard time? What are some of the things maybe that you do to nurture those relationships with people when they need you? If anyone would like to put something in the chat or come off mute and share. Or maybe something someone has done to support you. Hugs, yes, hugs. Right? There's healing power in physical touch. There really is. Listening. Yeah, and listening just without judgment. Just lay it on me. I'm here for you. I am your person. Pay attention. That's a real good one because you might pick up on things that someone might not quite be willing to share, but they might want to talk about, or they just don't know how. If someone's feeling sad and you pay attention and you check in with them, that can be really powerful. Have you ever had a rough day and someone just so gently says to you, "How are you doing?" And boy, sometimes the tears start to flow or, it cracks the surface and the feelings come out. So sometimes paying attention can be so powerful, so meaningful. Nice words, right? Yeah, we all need encouragement. Everyone needs encouragement and to hear nice, supportive things. Just doing things together. Yeah, which can open up opportunities to talk. Absolutely. And sometimes, it's okay to get out and do something to not necessarily stop thinking about the bad thing, but to continue to, have positive experiences and compartmentalize maybe, let's feel sad about this for now, and now I'm going to try and shift into doing something good for myself, and I'm going to go out and do something. Love listening to people them talk. Then I try to get suggestions. Sometimes I have to do things with them to make them feel better. If I pick up on something that I know is not right, I try to lend support as much as I can. Yeah, and Victoria was saying too, it's better if like bad experiences and relationships don't even happen, right? And so sometimes picking up on these things in advance can be helpful in that way. But yeah, offering suggestions. Oh, and Stacy says try to make them laugh and take their mind off negative things for a moment, right? It's okay to take a break from feeling sad. We all need to laugh just as much as we need connections with people. Saying it's okay to cry on me. Yeah. I mean, that's allowing someone to be really vulnerable with you. And it's amazing to be able to offer that to someone. A walk together, Maria says, a walk together if possible. Good to be outside and just to be together with that person. Being outside, some fresh air, getting some sunshine. Nature can be healing. A lot of people find that to be true. Oh, these are great suggestions and comments. Thank you so much. I think that now I need to be friends with all of you. You sound like you know what you're doing. And how meaningful are these things if you think about it too, in terms of children, to be able to just be with someone when they're young and support them and listen and no judgment. So really wonderful comments. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. So in thinking about, how can we build meaningful connections? And I think a lot of this kind of the words on this slide came out of the conversation we had with the steering committee, where we talked about relationships during a meeting, but building time in your routine to connect and contact others who care about you, like that's not something that we often think about doing, but it's probably a good idea we make to-do lists for all sorts of things, right? So why not a to-do list about relationships and keeping in touch with people? Joining a group with shared interests, reaching out and connecting with people with shared experiences, asking for help even when it's hard to, helping others, which you all seem to have really great strategies to do. Taking care of our health is important too, because then that helps us be able to be social and active with folks. And boy, this is for kids and adults the same, I think, but not letting screen time distract us from connecting with people in person. It's so easy to just scroll on the phone, or it's, you watch one video on TikTok or look at Instagram or YouTube, and before you know it, a whole hour has gone by. So really monitoring how much time we spend with our devices, and finding ways maybe to share the things that you already like to do. If you have a favorite show, inviting people over to watch with you. If you really like to walk, consider asking people to join a walking group with you. And I'm just wondering, what are anyone out there have something they've done that they've tried to like build a new connection with someone or to meet new people? Or I mean, this can sometimes require some courage, but could anyone share something in the chat that they did to maybe make some new connections? Oh, thank you, Celeste, for the message that you like this webinar. Thank you. Stay connected. Yes. When I was So a while ago, I was in my late 20s and I moved from Wyoming, a small town in Wyoming, to Denver. And I met someone at work who befriended me, and she and some of her friends were doing a dodgeball club. Well, I'm not athletic by any means, and I never was good at dodgeball as a kid, but I did it anyway. I joined her because I really wanted to meet people. And that was terrifying for me, but I did it, and I survived, and I did end up meeting some really fun people. I was not our star player by any means. Does anyone have anything else they might like to share about a way that they ended up connecting or making a new connection, meeting new people? Just asking someone I trust to give me a hug. Yep. Isn't that so great? And trying to find things that we have in common. Yeah, I like doing special needs events with my friends. I also like volunteering to make friends as well. There are times that I also like to go to people's houses. I enjoy doing pageants and meeting people that way as well. Wow, thank you, Emily. That's great. I bet boy, talk about opportunities to meet new people. That's a whole bunch of opportunities there. Thank you, thank you. Well, let's go to the next slide. So what can others do to support you? We'd like to have a conversation with you, talk a little bit more about, yeah, what are the ways that people can support you? And what we'd like to do with your feedback and anything that you share is to create a resource that we can share with people who are in supporter roles, to make sure they kind of understand how important it is, the importance of relationships and ways that they can help make sure relationship needs are met. Um, and we won't share we won't say like, oh, well, Kelly said that she needs a hug every Wednesday at noon in order to feel supported. Like, we're not going to put names and details to anything that anyone shares, but we just really love to have some discussion around your thoughts. So whether you'd like to come off mute or put something in the chat, that would be wonderful. So any thoughts you have of the things that we could, put in a resource to help people understand how to support you, how to support people Holly says, I have social anxiety. I still mostly talk online. I don't know which places to go all the time. I used to make terrible mistakes online too, but that's easy to do. I mean, I am not anymore, but it still scares me if I get hacked or something bad does happen again. In person, I had a lot of scary things. Yeah, I mean, like I said, sometimes meeting new people and doing things takes courage, and sometimes, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into until we're already there. So certainly having, maybe doing some pre-planning with someone, maybe before going somewhere new. A lot of times when I've gone somewhere new, I end up going with a friend or I talk to someone who's been there before. So maybe like some pre-planning could be helpful. And it's tough online, right? Because we never really know for sure what the other person on the other end of the phone or the tablet or the email is really like. And so sometimes moving those conversations at a slow pace is okay. But I thank you for sharing that, Holly. And I'm sorry to hear that you've had some scary things happen. Um, Victoria says she thinks she feels most supported when she's listened to. Sometimes physical affection from loved ones is soothing, but other times it can be suffocating. Asking what you need is always helpful. Yeah, I totally agree. I think we probably all agree. And asking someone too, is it okay if I give you a hug? Would you like a hug? Or is a high five better? Asking someone what their preference is too. Yeah, and Jean just says, ask me what I need. I wish things to be better, Holly. Yeah. Victoria shared my current romantic relationship is somebody I met online. Internet can be a scary place, and you do have to exercise caution, but all of my deepest friendships are online. Yeah, caution is the key word, right? Yeah. And Maria, just be with me, not necessary to talk. Oh, isn't that nice when you have someone who you can just be with, someone who's easy to be with, and you don't have to talk. That's really, I think, a sign of a good relationship. Delcy says fist bumps. Yes, yes. Not everybody loves a hug. Fist bump is just as meaningful sometimes. And Victoria, yeah, sometimes just existing in the same place as a loved one helps, right? Yeah, just being around, just being in the vicinity, in the area code. I had a cat who never really wanted to sit on my lap, but she wanted to sit, on the table if I was eating, on my desk if I was working. That was her jam, was just being close, but not too close. I think I can be like that sometimes too. Yes, classic cat behavior, says Victoria, who has a lovely cat also. But it's important, to know kind of what fills your cup, right? Does this make me feel good just being with this person? Or is this a person who I feel better, I have a better time with if we're doing something together? It kind of speaks to what Victoria shared about different needs for different connections. And we know there are different kinds of connections, going to a community event might fill your cup just as much as going out to dinner with someone one-on-one. Ooh, crafts with friends, Delcy says. I would agree with that. Creating with friends can be fun. Victoria, autistic people are kind of like cats, I've noticed. We want love, but we want it on our terms. And if someone is too aggressive about it, the claws come out. I mean, there's the thing about relationships too, and friendships with kids. When kids have stronger relationships, they have better self-esteem, they feel better about themselves. And I think that when we feel better about ourselves, we're better about setting boundaries, and that's okay. Holly, I wish more groups had filters to avoid negative talk or rudeness or talk about sensitive topics. Yeah, so I mean, I would agree with you, absolutely. And it's probably okay to, it could be hard, but if groups don't have those filters, to try and set those boundaries, to say, hey, can we agree that we're not going to talk about that? And see how it goes. Nancy says she loves the cat explanation, just like her cat Harvey. Kelsey says yes. Well, I'm wondering too if, what have supportive relationships looked like for you in the past? I think we put some adjectives and some words in the chat earlier about what kind of a good relationship looks like, and honesty and trust were part of it. But any additional thoughts about how you knew you could trust someone, and what good relationships have looked like for you in the past? I think time is also just a big factor in relationships, right? It takes time to build trust and to get to know someone. Nancy or Stacy, is there anything else from this slide that you'd like to maybe put out for more discussion, more feedback from our fabulous participants?
Um, I I was wondering if maybe people could speak to what it means to have a safe space. And this is really about relationships. And there's but sometimes it's not being with someone is what people need for a while. And I just thought, you know, for instance, um, having a good friend who knows when you need to be alone for a little bit before they come in. I guess that's maybe what who made the comment about we're like cats. We want love, but we want it on our terms. I guess maybe that's what I'm talking about. That um, uh, that people, we all need to be sensitive to what the person needs, not what we think they need or what we would need. So I might need a hug. You might hate a hug. And it's important to know what the other person wants, not think they want what we want. It gets a little complicated because if you're empathetic, you're thinking about, well, how would I feel? But maybe how I feel isn't relevant to how the other person feels.
That's a good point, right? Yeah, so I guess sometimes we have to just ask, what can I do for you? How can I help?
Boy, Victoria, Victoria just wrote, I think my most supportive relationship, my boyfriend provides a lot of emotional comfort. He knows every part of me, including the unpleasant and uglier aspects of myself that I try to hide, but instead of being put off by, he wants to support me. That is really a whole different angle. And I know what you mean, Victoria. So that I might be embarrassed in front of the rest of the world because I said something stupid or I did something, but not my partner. He won't judge me that way. That's really well put.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, just talk about feeling safe and secure in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And Emily, I see that Emily says making sure they don't betray you and staying loyal to you, not running the reputation of them, ruining the reputation of them or the parent. That leads to isolation completely. Right? We know isolation can be no fun and not good for us. And I mean, Nancy sort of touched on this too, but I do think there's, value in knowing when we do need some downtime by ourselves. Sometimes that's what helps to recharge the battery or sort of fill your cup, and that is okay, to just be able to, and for some of us who are more introverted than extroverted, that's what actually gives us energy, is just having that downtime by ourselves. So we all have different needs to different degrees when it comes to relationships and interactions with people. Well, let's go to our next slide. I will turn it over to Maria and Jean, who are going to do our group exercise. And I want to say thank you to everyone for sharing such honest feedback, and you've put so many fabulous things, really, really thoughtful things that you have shared in the chat, and we just appreciate it so much.
Yes, we certainly do. This is I'm Jean Farr, and I am an older white woman with brown hair, black glasses, and a gray and white striped sweater. I am a proud partner here at the Link Center, and I work for NAD, an association for people with IDD and mental health conditions. And my colleague Maria and I are going to guide this next part of our time together. So let me introduce Maria before we move on.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Jean. I'm Maria Crowley. I am also a proud partner for the Link Center. I have, I think you can see, or some of you can see, I have some gray hair. I'm an older woman as well. I'm wearing a gray sweater over a black shirt with the Link Center background behind me, and I'm just glad that we're here and we can run through the group exercise with you.
Oh, thank you, Maria. And as Stacy mentioned at the beginning of our time together, we're going to do a group exercise where we will present a scenario that talks about relationships and community connections. I'm so excited, as I know are so many, to hear how we can build upon the wonderful comments that all of you have shared thus far. So we hope to hear from you about just how you think about this, what reactions you have throughout this discussion related to this scenario. So please remember there are never any wrong answers or ideas because we believe that you are the experts of your own experiences, and we very much want to hear more from all of you. We want to, the Link Center wants to know what you're thinking so we can elevate the things that you bring up as we have talked about in the past together. You will bring up things that we haven't thought about, and we need to know what those are so we can elevate them, as I said, but also take action on some things as well. So you can raise your hand to come off mute, come on camera if you'd like. You can write your thoughts in the chat, or you can email us and we will populate the chat for you. So what I'm going to do is read the scenario, and then we can all sort of think about and then respond to the prompts that we will ask you all to consider and then respond to. Next slide, here we go. So here is our scenario. The Welsleys live in rural Kansas and have been fostering children for about 5 years, since their own children are grown and out of the house. Recently, they were asked to foster a 12-year-old girl named Keisha. Keisha has lived in 9 different homes in 10 years. Her mother died of an overdose soon after Keisha was born, and her grandparents were unable to care for her due to their own medical needs. Keisha loves dogs and loves to draw. She says that art is her favorite class. At home, Keisha's withdrawn, preferring to stay in her room alone. At home and school, she becomes verbally and physically aggressive when she is asked to do something she doesn't want to do. She also takes things that are not hers from classmates, stores, and the Welsleys. Martha Wellesley works part-time at the school, and Gene Wellesley has his own construction business. Their children and grandchildren visit once a week for family dinners. So now that we've kind of set the stage for this scenario, do you think that Keisha is lonely? And again, feel free to respond in any way that you prefer.
I see some yeses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of yeses. Yeah. It would make sense, to think that she's lonely. When you think about this sort of group of people and scenario, with whom can Keisha build relationships? Before we get into that, let's review what some of the chats that are coming in. I'll read the first one and then hand it back to you, Maria.
Okay.
Keisha Victoria shares with all of us. Keisha very clearly has strong abandonment issues from being bounced around foster homes so much. I think Keisha may be reluctant to start relationships or begin enjoying community because she's afraid this will be ripped away from her, and her outward aggression is a mask to prevent anyone from being close, as she wants to avoid heartbreak. Keisha needs something that she can take with her, no matter where she goes.
And who could blame her? That's a lot of homes in a short amount of time. Holly says, I think she's lonely also, probably can't keep up with the neighbors' conversations. I understand that. I used to be in a situation. I still struggle with group conversations, though. I think a lot of us could relate to that.
And Anna says, based on the scenario, it seems that all of that's tied to a traumatic event that resulted in all that.
Definitely.
Mm.
Emily B says, to be completely honest, she is very overwhelmed. Moving from not only just 2 houses, but 9. That is overwhelming. Different rules, different people, and not knowing the environment, let alone the care you will get as a child or an adolescent, or even as an adult. Sometimes it will help if the family can spend time with them one-on-one or ask how they can get to know her better. Find a stable environment that she can stay in more so that way it doesn't happen throughout the years. That way her life is not imbalanced.
Mm-hmm. And let me just say thank you for introducing yourself to us, Celeste.
Yes.
Holly mentions, I hope we're lucky to not be in the same situation, but I believe people like that could be in better ones with the right supports.
Agree.
Yeah, boy.
For sure.
It would be so difficult having been in so many different homes. It would be so difficult to trust and to open oneself up.
I wonder too if she's had people along the way make promises they intend to keep that maybe don't follow through. That would be such a struggle.
Sure would. Anna, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jean.
Anna says, I would say on how overwhelming everything is and the traumatic events really explains the actions that she has, and she's trying to communicate that through aggression, etc.
Sure. Victoria's added, Keisha needs a relationship that she doesn't have to abandon if she had to switch homes again. Yep. Who wants to get close to someone if you know it's going to end with being forcibly ripped away? Keisha needs to find a way to keep in contact with her friends, maybe phone numbers or social media. That way, even if Keisha does have to be uprooted again, she has something stable to go back to and rely on. Sure, some continuity. Agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Emily says, I know this from experience because of my mom and dad divorcing. Luckily, not foster homes, though.
Sure.
Thank you so much. These are powerful reflections on all the different ways in which Keisha may be experiencing loneliness and isolation and a lack of individual sort of power, which was something that Nancy and others talked about earlier. Given all of this, with whom do you think Keisha can build relationships?
I'm very interested in what you all suggest.
Yeah. Delcy mentions a friend.
Sure. Holly, go to support group or look for a therapist. Sure.
She probably needs to kind of develop a sense of who she might be drawn to in terms of who in that, foster family unit she might feel safe with.
Sure.
Yep. Delcy says family.
Sure. Drew says relationships with her peers could be helpful, her classmates and or the Wellesleys' grandchildren if they're close in age. That's a great idea.
Hopper says maybe volunteer at an animal shelter or help teach a class to train dogs. It's a great idea to get her out in in an environment where she can feel loved, just helpful and love what she's doing being with animals.
Definitely. And she mentions she loves dogs. I wonder too about the drawing, and art.
Yeah.
Uh, Holly says, I love my therapist. I wish media didn't antagonize them, but show them as kind people that they can be. Sure.
Mm-hmm. And Victoria says, I think the foster parents may never be insanely close to Keisha the way they want to without proving to her that they are not going anywhere. She should have a reliable teacher or secondary adult figure in her life to talk about things she doesn't want to tell her foster parents, but also can't tell her friends. On that note, Keisha is going to have a hard time forming friendships with her peers, but since she likes dogs and art, that can be a gateway into her trust. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And Holly says she might need a service dog like me.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great, a great support.
Yeah. And Victoria, you made the point earlier about how important it is to have someone to talk to who isn't a parent. Um, and in this case, not a friend, but somebody you can just really trust with whatever is in your mind and heart.
I see crafts in here again. Delcy's touching on crafts.
And Emily says it will help if you talk positive with the person. Do not talk about other people, otherwise it will throw her off. When making friends, she can find ways to write letters or talk to them on the phone, etc. If they've finally found a family she can work with, make sure she gets to know them first. A place to live is a place you feel safe at all times, even when you get stressed. Everyone is a human being and deserves the same respect, whether it's a foster home or other situations.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Anna says it's hard to determine on building relationships because of the aggression and everything that she does have. It's important to start with conversations and, more importantly, love. I bet she hasn't experienced that love because what had happened with her mother and her grandparents. I would recommend a therapist and or find people in her life that do care about her.
Absolutely. Topper says maybe she could help teach art at school so she could be seen as a peer leader.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Kristen says, from experience, I wouldn't reach out to make a connection with anyone. People would seriously have to prove themselves, be willing to make the connections with her and help her get help. Honestly, every person in this scenario has the ability to leave her. Her connection would most likely be her art. That certainly could be true.
That's right. Those are important considerations. Holly says art therapy exists too. I know the ARC of New Jersey does that on Zoom. Worth a shot. These are incredibly great ideas to help Keisha build relationships. Um, but how can others help her build a relationship?
Thank you, Celeste. Celeste says she agrees with everyone.
Yes. Yeah. I think some of the comments that we've heard so far involve how others can help her, by encouraging her to maybe go and work with animals or share her art. But are there other ways that others can help her build relationships?
I hope so. She's 12 and she's in a system that, is there to provide some supports.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be just all on her.
No. And I think that earlier we're learning about how important it is to have, agency and kind of power in your own life. So maybe helping her share her art with others, thinking of ways to invite her to conversations, invite her to, the parents could invite her to do special one-on-one activities. In an earlier call, someone mentioned having the foster parent take her to work. Gene, the foster parent who has his own construction business, maybe taking her to work, or Martha, maybe taking her on a special one-on-one event, just kind of inviting her in.
Great suggestions. I love that. Emily says finding ways to invite them to different activities, which, is a little bit about, I think, what Jean's talking about. Great.
Kristen says, really step up to gain her trust, to nurture her interests, be willing to put in the work with and for her, and a lot of encouragement.
For sure. And then Nancy mentions if someone is school age, that it's typically a central part of life. So discussions with teachers about a child's need for connecting and understanding and making sure that child has time to be with schoolmates is important. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it'd be or hope that she might have an opportunity to interact with some of you because you are all doing such a great job with some of your suggestions.
I could not have said it better, Maria. That's absolutely true. Let's see. Topper says she hasn't had a lot of control of who's supervising or supporting her. Maybe she could be helped to interview and hire her own respite person to do social things. Maybe it could be someone close in age, like a 16-year-old. It's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Yeah. And another opportunity to, give her control and an opportunity to participate and not just be, thrown about by the system.
Right. Maybe I could take her in, says Emily. Love that.
Oh, that's great. Well, we can take a couple more comments here before I see we're kind of slowing down, and let's give it another, 30 seconds and see if anybody else would like to chime in with some final thoughts around with whom and how people can help Keisha build relationships.
Sure. Delsey's added groups. Groups could be great.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's easier than being one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. Kelly says, thank you for sharing all these amazing suggestions.
Love those. Y'all have been great participants.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Maria? Shall we pass the screen on? Oh, I see here, technology and tools. We don't want to miss that.
No. Yeah, I think we can. It seems like, we've come to the right place to sort of wrap things up and hand them over to Carly.
All right. Well, again, thank you all so much. And let's pass the screen over to our colleague Carly now.
Thank you both so much. So now I want to thank, let me start by saying my name is Carly Winnie. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at NAD. I am a middle-aged white woman with graying hair that is up at the moment, and I am wearing a blue sweater. So thank you all for being here today and for participating in this great discussion. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat what are your go-to resources, training, websites, and where you get information and supports that that'll help us develop the materials and really inform us about where you go for information about relationships. Next slide. Here's the schedule of past and upcoming shared learning groups. You can find recordings, transcripts, and materials from past events on the Link Center's website. You can also find and register for upcoming shared learning groups on the website as well. The next topic will be on health and well-being, and that's going to take place in January. Next slide. You can visit the Link Center's website at any time. The address and link are here on the screen, and we'll drop it in the chat as well. You can also email the Link Center if you have any questions or suggestions for us. Next slide. We do have a quick evaluation that we hope you'll complete for us. On the screen is a QR code that you can scan with your phone. We'll also put the link in the chat as well. It will also pop up when you close out today's session, and it will also be sent to everyone in an email. Your feedback on the evaluation really helps us to make improvements and adjustments for future webinars and products. So thank you again so much for participating today. A special thank you to our colleagues, Victoria, Kelly, and Nancy. We'd like to thank our steering committee, as always, for sharing their thoughts and experiences that are invaluable to these shared learning groups. And thank you also to the ACL and to all the partners for contributing to the preparation of and content for this meeting. That's all for today. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon, and thank you so much for attending and participating. Bye-bye.